city. The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. It is the Sunday edition, September 30th, 2012. And today I have a special guest that I am just really excited about bringing onto the broadcast. He's a radio show host and a network owner. He's started his own alternative radio network. He's got a couple different shows on there right now. And I like how they do things. I like their model. They really are about free speech over there. Not afraid to cover different topics. I myself have been a guest on one of his shows numerous times. The network is WKOAlive.com. And the man himself, Johnny English. Johnny, welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you, Popeye. Thanks for having me on. I've been pumped for the last 2 weeks. I think it was about 2 weeks ago when we discussed doing this, and I've been jacked up ever since, just awaiting for this moment to come. And by the way, you can knock the W off there now. It's KOAlive.com.
Oh, you guys changed it from WKOA to just KOA Live? Yeah,
there's an actual radio station called WKOA, and I got a little advisor that may or may not have worked in real radio before, and he said, to prevent any future hassles, you may want to drop that W off, even though, WKOAlive.com will still forward to the page. So I still own that, and I'll probably own that forever. So, but yeah, it's KOAlive.com. And again, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you asking me on, and hopefully this will be a fun 2 hours, man.
It always is when I hang out with you, dude. And for you guys that don't know, like I said, I've been on one of Johnny's shows. He's got a show on his network called The First 52 on Saturday nights. And it's an interesting show, to say the least. You guys aren't afraid to talk about, anything on any of your broadcasts, which I like that. You don't censor things, Johnny, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we the one thing that when I first decided to do this, it was going to be, free speech, bar none, and even though somebody might get on there and say something that might be, I don't know how exactly to say it, that might be labeled some sort of either hate speech or
misconstrued.
Yeah, misconstrued as something else. I still feel like that little thing that's right there, that's been written for hundreds of years. That little deal there that says that we can say whatever we want to say, free speech. that is what I wanted to do. You know, I didn't want to get on and have to bow down to any kind of I don't know, whatever you want to, whoever, corporate sponsors or however you want to do it. I'd love to be in regular radio, but I know I wouldn't be able to, you know, say what I wanted to say.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, you can't do regular terrestrial radio, FM, AM, you know, syndication across all different markets, as they call them, throughout the country, and be able to speak truth. I mean, you'd be on there for all of about 5 minutes before they hit the dump button.
Oh, yeah, and you'd be escorted out the door, I'm sure, by a couple of huge goons that they come in with their sunglasses and their Armani suits and their guns bulging out the side. I guarantee you'd be thrown through the front window.
Yeah, so. Private security goons. Well, that's why networks like yours, networks like Orion, and all the other alternative networks out there, they're important because, look, honestly, the citizens are becoming the media because the mainstream media is such a friggin' joke now that nobody even listens to them. Did you see that poll recently? And, of course, polls are, they're subjective, but I take polls at about 50% of reliability, even less probably, but there was a recent poll or whatever you want to call it done, and more than like 70% of the American public does not believe the mainstream media anymore. Gee, I wonder why. Could it be because they're caught lying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, on a daily basis. It's not even a weekly basis or a monthly basis. It's literally a daily basis that these people get on, and they put their makeup on, a pound of makeup. They get these hot chicks in there with their breasts heaving out of the top. So, you know, just to distract you and to get you to watch. And then they look straight into the camera as you're looking at the TV. So it's like you're staring at them and they're staring at you, and they lie to you.
Right to your face. And then they laugh at you if you come up with a dissenting opinion.
Oh, absolutely. You're labeled, a rebel or whatever the case may be, a terrorist. Now you're basically labeled a terrorist if you go against what the script that's been laid out before you. No, you must follow this script. If you don't follow this script, we're going to put you in jail and label you a terrorist and ruin your entire family, your life, and everything else we can get our hands on.
Have you seen this chick, Amber Lyon? She used to work for CNN. And I remember when they had the BP oil spill, I remember seeing her reporting and stuff. And then you didn't see her really on CNN after a while, and I wondered what happened. And then right after you really stopped seeing her, she came out and said that CNN was they were blocking video from Bahrain and what was going on over there, and she accused them of censoring more than just that. And Glenn Greenwald wrote an article about her. And this is one of the, I already had checked it out and looked into it, and I already knew CNN was full of crap. And looking into her research and stuff, she was dead on. But then when I myself, because I reposted Glenn Greenwald's article, the next day, and this is the first time in 6 years I've been doing this, the next day, the PR department from CNN contacted me. Now, when I tell you this is the first time CNN's ever contacted me, I'm not kidding you. I mean, I've called them up live on air on my show before and gotten whoever on the phone and, said, hey, you guys should report about Bohemian Grove, blah, 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 when it was going on. And she was like, oh, yeah, we're getting a lot of phone calls about that. I said, well, maybe you could ask one of your correspondents, David Gergen. You know who he is, right? And she's like, yes, sir. And I'm like, well, you should go ask him because he goes to the Grove all the time. Maybe he can give you an insider's report or whatever. And I I was somewhat being facetious, but I was being nice about it. So it came across smooth. It wasn't coming across like I was some idiot, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I never got contact about that. But this article that Greenwald wrote about what Amber Lyon was talking about, how CNN censors stuff, that triggered an email from the PR department of CNN. So you know what that told me, Johnny? They were worried and they were doing damage control.
Well, that's what they're doing all the time now. Honestly, they must have hired an entire crew of people for each radio or for each news station and each network to do nothing but damage control. That's their entire job on a daily basis, is to try to spin things or basically spin their way out of things. What was the deal that happened where CNN clearly faked some coverage, live coverage in Afghanistan or Iraq?
Oh yeah, that was from the first Gulf War.
Yeah,
I actually have it where they were supposedly in Kuwait under rocket attack, and they were really filming it in the studios in Atlanta. and it's completely fake. When you look at it now, you're like, oh my God, this is completely crap. But back in the 90s, people were like, oh my God, it's real.
Yeah.
20 years ago, people thought that was accurate as could be.
Did you post the one? I saw somebody posted one.
Hold on, I'm going to cut us off, Johnny, because we got the break sneaking up on us.
Oh, okay.
So hold that question, and I'll have you ask it on the other side. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Full 2 hours with Johnny English. You don't want to miss it. We are back. Johnny, before we got cut off, you had a question for me.
Well, I just want to know if you were the one that posted that picture. It's kind of in relation to that CNN deal where they were faking the news coverage. It was actually the first picture, I think it was, a picture of a guy sitting at a desk with armed, masked bandits with guns, and the guy was reading off some sort of hostage thing or whatever.
Yes, I didn't post the picture, but I shared it or whatever, but I didn't upload the original picture is what I should say. But yes, I know what you're talking about. It's like a cutout, and it looks like there's terrorists behind him, and there's a CNN banner, and then it shows you a side shot, and you see that all of that it's all photos, like realistic life-size stuff, so that when they frame it, it looks like it's live on a TV broadcast, or they can take still shots.
And the terrorists were all cardboard cutouts. It's like the only live person is the guy sitting there reading the note.
But they don't fake anything.
No, come on.
You're one of them conspirators, aren't you?
That's right. I'm a conspiracy thirst.
You think that people get together and do bad stuff. Come on.
Yeah.
This is a big point of contention with me. I argue the word conspiracy with people because I even catch people in the alternative media saying, it's not a conspiracy. It's really true. And I'm like, whoa. See, you got to stop right there because you're feeding into that fallacy when you do that. The word conspiracy does not mean fiction, UFOs, aliens, and all this other stuff. See, that's what's been associated with that word.
Right.
The word really means two or more people getting together to do something bad, i.e. a plot. Like, Johnny, let's go rob a 7-Eleven. Okay, Popeye. We go in. We get caught. We would get charged with conspiracy to commit robbery as well as robbery. So people get charged in a court of law all the time with conspiracy.
Oh, yeah, the government, I believe, I think they actually are the ones that invented that in order to put the mob bosses away because they couldn't really fight the mob and everything, one-on-one. So they came up with these weird charges, conspiracy to do this and conspiracy to do that. And they're really the ones that made that popular.
Yeah, but God forbid you mention that, maybe a bunch of powerful men, and even some women in the world, are conspiring to do bad things, and suddenly you're a nut job. But it's fully, on the same. See, this is how you can tell how dumbed down the whole populace is as a whole, because, and I myself, back in the day. Not that I attacked anybody that went after conspiracy, because I've always, I've researched it for a long, long time. But even I myself, when I think about it, would feed into some of these fallacies without even realizing it. If you even misuse the term, you're feeding into it. So when someone says, no, it's not a conspiracy, it's this. It's really a bunch of people getting together to do something bad. You're like, well, you just contradicted yourself because you said it's not a conspiracy, but when you go and say that it is a bunch of people getting together to do something, whatever the case may be that you're talking about, even if you don't realize it, it's almost like you're cutting off your own legs because you're telling people it's a conspiracy, but then telling them verbally that it's not a conspiracy. It's almost like doublespeak to me. If we have to start looking at the words we use, and we have to look at our lexicon and realize how it's been manipulated, and that a lot of times we don't even realize that we're saying certain words, and that we need to take ownership of that. For real. We need to look at that and say, wow, man, we're using the word conspiracy in the wrong light. it should be used when referring to what it really is, a group of people conspiring to do something bad or whatever. We shouldn't be saying, oh, it's not some weird conspiracy like UFOs or aliens or something like that. See, the term conspiracy has been attached to that, but that's not really what a conspiracy is. You know what I mean? It's like a straw man. They've almost made the word conspiracy a straw man argument, so that as soon as the word's represented in any way, shape, or form, boom, you're an instant moron.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They've definitely taken it and twisted it around to fit their agenda and to make everybody else that might want to ask questions. And that's really all we're doing, is asking questions. We want to know the ins and outs. As a child growing up, I had to know how my Stretch Armstrong stretched the way he did. So, like an idiot, I cut it open and I found the gooey stuff on the inside. And now I know. But I can't play with my Stretch Armstrong anymore because I destroyed it trying to find it out. However, that's just the kind of guy I am. I have to know how things work. And I think as more people wake up and want to know how the Federal Reserve works and how the government actually works and how the corporations are controlling the government and how this pyramid of power is really, we're at the very bottom. People don't understand that. We're at the very bottom of a trillion-ton pyramid, and we're just getting smashed more and more every day.
Yeah, and people need to stop getting mired down in the minutia of things. And I don't mean that paying attention to details isn't important, because it is. But when we get caught up in our own lives, when we get caught up in our own story, our own movie that we're living, that's when you don't have time to research anything. And that's by, let's be honest, that's by design. That's why people are worked so long, and they make it. The controllers, when I refer to they, by the way, I'm referring to the controllers, for lack of a better term. I don't like calling them elites, because that gives them this aura of, like they're better than us, and they're not. They're epic douchebags, and I don't think any of them are better than us. Just because some of them may have better educations than some of us, that's just because mommy and daddy had tons of money to take care of that education. But most of them are brought up very differently than us, and they're not elites. They pose as that. They're psychopaths. So I like to call them the controllers. I don't like to. I'm trying to change my lexicon. I'm trying to change the way I refer to things, because if I keep calling them elites, what does that do?
Well,
Even if I don't realize it, I'm reinforcing that they're better than us, right?
Right. And yeah, you're making it, and now I'm going to stop using that too. Now that you brought that up, that's actually a very good point, and that's why I like you, Popeye. You make me think.
Well, I'm glad, dude. I mean, that's my whole job, right? That's what my goal is, to get others to think. I don't want anybody to believe what I say and take. I mean, I'm going to rephrase that. I want them to believe what I say, but I don't want them to take it like as gospel. I don't want them to go, well, Popeye said it, so it's got to be true. No.
Yeah, you don't want to be a preacher where people have blind faith and they put all their faith in you and believe every single word that you say. The way I look at it is, okay, I'm going to give you this information. You can check it out for yourself, because now is the best time in the entire history of our planet that you can actually go on and check these things for yourself. You don't have to believe me. Go check it for yourself. It's very simple.
Can you imagine if cultures before us had the internet, dude? Like, if they had access to the information, like if our founding fathers, when the Constitution was being framed, can you imagine if everybody in the country was as connected to things as they are now, or had the ability to be connected to things like we have now? Can you imagine that?
I don't think we'd be in the shape we're in, because back then people had balls, and right now most people don't have any balls, and it takes a lot of balls to do what you do. It takes a lot of balls to do what a lot of these people are doing out here, and trying to wake people up and going against these huge corporations like Monsanto and you name it, the oil companies and all these food companies. There's just an unreal amount of power that's out there, and anybody that steps up to them does have balls, but for the majority of the population, we're nutless.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right. And the male of the species is being pussified. I think that's actually the most appropriate term. It's the pussification of the male in our society. We got a break sneaking up on us. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Bottom of the hour. We'll be back in 3 minutes. More with my guest, Johnny English. Check his website out, koalive.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Johnny, last segment, you made an interesting point, and I'm not bringing this up to pat myself on the back. I'm bringing this up because of something that you've recently gone through yourself. You said that you like to listen to me because I make you think. Now, you recently heard one of my broadcasts that I did. I think it was with Mark Passio, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And we were breaking a bunch of things down. And something that we said during that broadcast, I don't want to say it turned a light bulb on in your head because you're already a smart guy and you're awake, but it caused you to have some sort of an epiphany, correct?
That was the beginning. That show was the beginning. When I had you on, actually, when it clicked was when you were co-hosting with me. When you co-hosted the entire show on the first 52 that one night, and you'd have to go back and listen to the last part of it. And if you listen to kind of my attitude throughout the entire show, like the last few minutes, you kind of got off on a little tangent, and I was sitting there listening, and you can almost hear it in my voice. I go directly from hey, to yeah, and it hit me that really it was time for me to step up. And I've been doing this for almost 2 years. I've been doing live internet radio for almost 2 years. I've had KOA Live up for a few months now, and it was geared as it's like the third rehash. I've been trying to find something that I was going to be happy with, something that would stick, and KOA Live I think is it. And the basic premise behind the whole website is to enlighten people and to try to bring the truth to people. But I was still stuck in this thing. I was doing another show, the Weekend Penetration Show, and it really hit me when you were talking. I can't remember exactly what you said. I'm bad at quoting from previous shows, but it really made me think about why I was doing this and what I should be thinking about, what I should be doing. And I realized at that very instant that this delusions that I was having of creating this huge network and making money off this thing and was really not the path I should be going down. The path I should be going down is to try and take everything that I've learned over the last 2 years and really start getting to the nuts and bolts of the truth of what's really out there, and not worry about this other stuff, not worry about any fame, not worry about kissing anyone's butt, which is what I was doing. I was trying to kiss other people's butts that have much larger radio shows and stations, and trying to get in on their action, trying to get in and get paid for radio. And I sit and realize, I'm like, this Popeye guy, he's doing this on a daily, he's doing this Orion Talk Radio Network, and he's doing his show 3 times a week, and he's putting his heart and soul into this thing, and he's not getting famous, he's not getting rich off of it, but he still somehow finds some kind of satisfaction in this, and I had to think about it for a second, and it really hit me that I would like to be more like you, and don't, I guess I'll toot your horn too, that you do have, you're very wise beyond your years, and I really like what you say, and you do make me think. I mean, you really hit me with some stuff that makes me think. So in a nutshell, without, I'm sorry I drugged that out longer than it should have been, but I really, I think I'm more focused now, and I had to take a break from radio, from doing the shows, and get my thoughts together. And when I come back, be ready for action and really, head down the home stretch, you might say.
And I didn't bring that up to like pat myself on the back or anything. The reason I brought it up was because to me, that was very humbling to me that my words hit home with you, because that's all I do this for. I don't even use my real name. I don't go on and I'm so-and-so, blah, you should like me, I'm awesome. I don't do any of that. I don't put pictures of me up on my website. I don't put pictures of me up all over the place. It's not about me. And part of that is also to keep myself in check. Because it's very easy when people start to listen to you and, you know, they write you emails and say thank you or comment on YouTube videos and stuff and say, thank you, you're a hero, you're this or that. It's very easy to let your ego get inflated. And I do it as a way of keeping myself in check because I am not some fictional, character. I mean, not that I come on as a real person, but I am not. I'm not even the name that I was given at birth, if you want me to get really deep. I'm infinite consciousness, having an experience with other pieces of infinite consciousness, okay? But I kind of do this the way I do it to also keep myself in check. You know, I'm not some sort of superhero or anything, and I constantly say that on air because people need to – I think I find in this – and I don't want to call it a movement because I hate that damn word – but in whatever the hell you want to call this thing, you know what? I'm going to call it the evolution from now on because that's really what's going on is people's minds are evolving all over the place. So it's not really a movement. So we're going to get that word out of the lexicon too today. Let's go with the evolution. So our collective evolution as humanity, right? I want to be a positive part of it. That's what I get out of this. That's the satisfaction I get. Would it be nice if I wasn't poor? Yeah, but you know what? I think that keeps me humble too. I think that helps keep me humble too. You know what? So be it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It just wasn't meant for me to have money, I guess. And it's probably a good thing because I'd probably be just as big a jerk as, you know, most everybody else that I know that has millions of dollars or lives high on the hog. And it's a daily struggle trying to explain that to children. And my wife does very well with it. She's actually more level-headed about it than I am. I just worry about providing. And, one thing I've noticed with having small children in grade school is back when I was going to school, you didn't really hit the popular, the name brand clothes until you got sophomore, junior year in high school. Now it's infiltrated down into literally third grade, fourth grade. If you're not wearing the name brand clothes and you're not doing, you don't have a cell phone at 9 years old, then you're labeled as a poor white trash, whatever. And I feel bad for my kids. I don't know how we can correct that. I mean, I don't know if we're too far gone as a society.
Well, I honestly think that there is an evolution coming. I mean, it's unstoppable, and as much fear as that there's put out there that, oh my God, the FEMA camps, the police state, we're effed, Johnny. As much as I talk about how bad things are, I try to remind everybody that it's not as bad as it looks. It does look bad. It sounds real bad, and it could be real bad. But that's the key part. It could be real bad. It's a choice. We, as humanity, have to make. We either make a left turn and we evolve, or we make a right turn and we go deeper into the shit. It's Absolutely. One of the two.
Yeah, people don't realize they have a choice. They can keep going down the road they're on, or they can take the left turn, take a right turn, get off the path that you're on, and find your own path. And this goes, and it really goes for anything. I mean, it goes from trying to eat better, trying to get away from GMO foods, your job, how you deal with people in your daily lives. I mean, really, stop going down that road that you're going down. Stop giving banks all your money. Stop going out and buying brand new cars and brand new houses and settle for something a little bit less. Put some elbow grease into it and make it better. There's just an uncounted number of things that you could add that theory to and make things better for yourself, and we're going to have to. So. And
as I've said before, it starts with inside your own life. You make small changes in your own life, and then that starts to radiate outward into the atmosphere around you and into others around you, and then they might pick up off that and take a page from your playbook per se and change things in their lives too. I mean, that's why I say it's humbling when someone listens to what I have to say and they ponder what the words that actually came out of my mouth. They don't just, let their that reptilian brain spout some crap off. They turn that off and they sit back and they ponder what I say. And they actually, tell me that it changed the way they look at things, like in your case. And it's humbling because that means that I have a larger responsibility to bring forward that kind of thinking. That's what my job is. All right, we're going to get cut off. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. Johnny, you mentioned GMO food last segment, and I want to get off on that for a little while, just even if at least one segment, because this is an important topic, which I find even in this evolution of thinking, there are many individuals that really don't think that GMOs are a bad thing. It's actually very surprising when you see certain people come out and say that, oh, GMOs aren't that bad or whatever. There's nothing wrong with GMO food. And you're like, really, dude? Have you ever seen the pictures of the rats that they have tumors the size of a softball on them? I think there might be a slight problem with GMO food. And most people have no idea how horrible it is. I mean, even your regular average, if you go to Whole Foods and you go buy the regular corn, it's GMO corn. You have to get the stuff that says organic. If it does not specifically say organic, and you, even in that case, it might not even be fully organic because there's so many organic farms that are being contaminated by the GMO crap. But if it does not say specifically on it organic anymore, it's pretty much GMO corn. And other things, too. I mean, dude, that's scary. This stuff is killing animals, causing rats to have tumors, like I said, the size of a softball. And people are just, I'm going to go eat my corn on the cob from Monsanto. Mm.
Yeah, it's, by the way, Walmart just approved Monsanto corn to be sold in their little, you can go buy your stalks of corn or your ears of corn from Walmart directly from Monsanto. Yeah, that's right. Now, people freak out about that. I've said this before. People freak out about that. But I got bad news for you. You've been eating it for about 10 years, folks, and you didn't even know it. You had no clue. This study you talk of is from, I believe it is from Caen University. I believe that's how you pronounce it, in France, or as they say, Université de Caen. And this test, they actually had to do this test in extreme privacy, because of how powerful Monsanto is and all of its allies and its little groups that like to harass people and sue people. But they did this test in extreme secrecy. And Monsanto, of course, their only defense, they come out and say, well, we did testing on it, and it was fine. Yeah, you did a 90-day test. As most people know, rats live for about 2 years. So this study in France, they did it for the entire 2-year lifespan. They fed maize or corn, Roundup-tolerant corn, to these female rats. And 70% of them died sooner than they should have. They did, like you said, they developed these gigantic tumors that were the size of the rat themselves. So it looks like a double rat, except only one has a head. And people don't understand. Monsanto is being kicked out of every European country. Russia just blocked GMO corn or seed corn, and look at all the countries that are blocking it now. The UK protesters finally got together, and they're driving Monsanto out. Monsanto right now is in the process of liquidating 3 or 4 other plants around in Europe because of all this. Because the people are standing up. And they're seeing all these tests and look, you're killing us. And that's what they're doing. They are killing us. But we're not in our lives. We haven't had it enough in order to see all the effects. We've seen some of the effects. You got type 2 diabetes that's rampant. You've got cancer that's rampant. Everything is starting to go elevate up a little bit. And, of course, all this is helping out Big Pharma. It's helping them, whether it's meant to help them or if it's just a side effect. It is helping Big Pharma because now they can get you under their control and feed you pills and radiation and whatever else they can get their hands on to shove down your throat. It's just unreal, Popeye. It's maddening, and it makes me so angry. I told you during the break, I watched Food Inc. Again, go watch Food Inc. It's on Netflix right now. Go watch it and see how sickening our food process really is. I mean, it really is sickening.
And you were saying that you were watching it with one of your kids.
Yeah. And
she kept turning her head away. She couldn't watch it. And you were like, well, how do you think you get your food? You think it just magically appears on your plate?
Right. And that's exactly what I told her, too. I'm like, do you think that chicken just magically appeared in the freezer or in the frozen food aisle at the grocery store? No. That's exactly. I said, look at the screen. And I kind of made her watch. I mean, I didn't go physically make her watch. But I said, you need to watch this. And you need to watch how these cows and how all this is going on. And just to show you, that your food is not just magically appearing overnight.
I have seen people, dude, literally say, and I forget where the video is. I have to find it. But they were talking about meat. And the person said, well, I get my meat for, I don't know if they were asking them where they get their meat from for health reasons, whatever. But all I remember is the answer was, well, I get my meat down at the store where they make it. And I was like, they make your meat at the local food store? And, and the person was, that's what, it wasn't just a comment. I mean, literally, that's what this person believed. They kept going into when they were talking about it, how the store makes the meat. No, the store doesn't make the meat. The meat comes from a friggin' cow somewhere. Duh. It's just unbelievable, dude.
People have no idea. That's how clueless people are. I mean, we are so wrapped up, like you said earlier in the show, we are so wrapped up in our own story that we don't even pay attention to what's going on around us. And we get in this cycle that you get paid, you go to the grocery store, you buy your food, you come home, and you hopefully can buy enough to last you through the week. You and your family or whoever. And it's just a continuous cycle. That's the cycle we're in. And I'm sure it's the cycle that a majority of other people are in that have children or even if you're single or just, married or whatever and you don't have kids. But it's amazing how clueless people really are. You really need to go out and watch that movie, Food Inc., and it will give you an idea of what's really going on. Where a lot of these diseases are going from, where E. coli is suddenly popping up in hamburgers and spinach. I mean, come on. This GMO, the GMOs may have been developed for a good reason because they're saying, the way the population's going up, we need more food. Well, we actually have enough food. It's just not getting to the right places. And the way they're processing our foods right now, there really is only just a few companies. There are only 4 major beef companies in this country. As a trucker, I've hauled for 2 of those. And let me tell you, when you go into these houses, when you go into these meat packing houses and things, it's the most disgusting thing that you've ever seen. It really is. It'll make you turn away from it.
Yeah, when you start to see how it's actually, where it comes from. Again, a lot of people they take for granted that there's meat or chicken at the food store their whole lives. They've grown up. We've grown up. We're part of that, generation of people that grew up where there was always meat at the food store. You just go there and you go to the butcher section, wherever, and you get your meat from the guy at the store. When my dad was a kid, you had to go to the butcher itself. They didn't have, there wasn't like the huge supermarkets and stuff. There was the local corner market, but most of the time there was a separate butcher, not too far.
It was like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah, exactly. They went to Sam the Butcher to get the meat. And back then, at least they knew. Like when I was a kid, we had I grew up in a town where we had a slaughterhouse. It's still there in operation, and it was not too far from where I lived and where my house was. So I knew the kids there and stuff. And when I was a little kid, one of my friend's mothers used to get her meat fresh from the slaughterhouse. She didn't feed her kids beef from the supermarket. She would go right to the slaughterhouse, and this is back in the late 70s, early 80s. And I was probably about 6 or 7 years old first time I watched a goat get killed live right in front of me. I watched what they did to it. The goat was sitting there. They came up behind it. They slit its throat, and then they wrapped chains around its legs and hoisted it up with a lift, just a simple, pulley system, and they hung it from the ceiling and let it bleed out, and they collected the goat's blood.
Right.
Because a lot of times when I don't know if it was the Indians or the Muslims, I can't remember, but when they would come, you had to slaughter the animal in a specific way, and sometimes they wanted the blood caught. There was a lot of, it has to do with their religion, but the slaughterhouse would do all that stuff for him. And I was literally standing there, and I don't think his mother knew it was going to happen, but we were standing there, and they just walked the goat out, and the one guy's talking to her. She's like, yeah, I need this. And me and her son are sitting there, like I said, we're like 6, 7 years old. And we're standing there, and all of a sudden they grabbed the goat, cut its throat, and hoisted it. And we were like, holy crap. And then they proceeded to start gutting it right there and cutting everything off. And I was like, oh, that thing was just alive like a minute ago. Oh. And then that's really when I learned. I had a little bit of an awakening. And I still eat meat and stuff, but I've actually cut back on a lot of the stuff I eat. And I'm trying to change up my diet because I realize that I'm part of the problem if I don't try to at least pay attention and do something about it.
Right, and I am too, and I'm just trying to I'm doing the research right now to try to find non-GMO foods, and how I can. I know on Food Inc. there was that one farmer that did it the way they used to do it. Back in the day when he was doing it right. Now, and I'm like you. I'm not saying don't eat meat. I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not a food activist or anything like that. I'm just saying that there's a better way to do this.
Yeah, there's a much better way. We're going to get into that and more in hour number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, do not go anywhere. Hour 1 up, hour 2 coming up. More with my guest, Johnny English. Check his website out, koalive.com. It's an awesome network. Support it. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on today's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. It is September 30th, 2012. Don't forget that I have an extra night now, so my broadcast is on Monday or Wednesday and Friday. That's right, Mondays as well now, 10 p.m. to midnight, same time. So that's a great block, by the way, because it goes Monday, Down the Rabbit Hole, Tuesday, Joe, Wednesday, Down the Rabbit Hole, Thursday, Joe, and then my Friday broadcast. So that whole time slot is just filled with really hard-hitting radio. And I'm not, patting myself on the back, but hey, I do 4 days a week now, so I want to make sure that the listeners know.
You're patting.
Yes, I am patting a little bit, but whatever. You have to somewhat do it. As you can tell, ladies and gentlemen, that's right. My guest from hour 1, Mr. Smartass himself, Johnny English.
You're lucky you're not on my show because I would have been giving you all kinds of crap over all that stuff. But
yes,
no, you're really not. You are doing a great job, and please pat yourself on the back.
Well, now you just gotta, you gotta promote yourself, especially when you do time changes and stuff, because then the listeners might not know that. Hey, I'm on Mondays now, so. And you can always catch the archives in the archive section, or obviously go to my YouTube channel and pick up the archives there. Anyway, enough self-loathing, or self-loving, I should say. I'm not loathing myself. There's a few things I want to go over with the GMO stuff. There's other stuff I want to talk about, but this is a really important issue with food and what's going on. And I know there's some sort of, a proposition in California or something to ban GMOs or something like that?
Proposition 37 right now. Any of your California listeners or if downloaders, please support this. I believe at last count, Monsanto has thrown about 19 million. This is not even counting other corporations like Monsanto that are throwing money at this. I believe total counts around 25 million between all the companies. Monsanto, the largest, of course. $19 million. What are they hiding? If they're not hiding something, why are they trying to ban Proposition 37 from banning? They're not really banning Proposition 37. The only thing it's doing, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, the only thing that Prop 37 does, it requires foods to be labeled GMO foods. If it's above 0.5% of genetically modified ingredients, then it has to be labeled. I don't see a problem with that. I see no problem with that whatsoever. Let the people decide. That's the issue, and that's what they're fighting. And I urge everyone out in California to vote for this on November 6th. It's on the ticket. with the presidential election. Please, and really, Prop 37 is probably the most important thing on that ticket.
I would say so, because it'll set a precedent.
Absolutely, because everybody knows if it starts in California. Now, this is something that they've tried, that other states have tried. Don't think California is the end-all, be-all. They're the first ones that's tried this. 11 other states have actually tried to do the exact same thing, but Monsanto hired a slew of attorneys and said, we are going to sue you if you do this. Now, you're thinking they're probably going to lose the lawsuit. And what happened is the governors of these states said, look, I'm not going to waste the taxpayers' money to fight a frivolous lawsuit, even though they'll probably win. However, I think differently. They should have done it. They should have done it. As much money as that gets wasted on a daily basis, why not waste money on something that's actually going to do something good for the citizens of your state? But hopefully, if this goes through, if Prop 37 passes, then they will have to start labeling all GMO foods in California, and then that will hopefully sweep across the nation, much like most other laws do, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I've gotten to this argument because, yes, I always say we don't need government to pat our asses and everything else, pretty much. But if you're going to have laws put on the books, if you're going to vote for something, this would be something to vote for. You could write in Ronald McDonald as your presidential candidate if you want, but I would urge you, when it comes to local issues, they are good things to get involved with. And I know the system sucks, and it's not meant to be for the little guy. But when it comes to local issues, you still have some control. Federal, I would say, good luck with that. It's all a game. But at least at the local level, you do have some control over things. You know what I mean? Whether it's state or even down at a more local level, county or city/town, you still have somewhat control over that. And, we need to set a precedent. And like you said, if it's not a bad thing, why such a fight? Why such a fight to have it done? And again, I've seen people on both sides of the fence saying, yeah, who cares about labeling? Even on, that people that are quote unquote into freedom or whatever, they'll say, well, you shouldn't want the government. The anti-statists will say, well, do you need the government to require you to do this? Well, no. Technically, the people should have the authority to stand up to the companies. But right now, they don't. So this is at least the next best thing, because now you get this thing on record and in the books. The problem is, I guarantee you, if it even made it through the process, because I'm sure Monsanto is throwing a crap load of money at this to stop it. And if it got through, I'm sure they would probably immediately sue. As soon as the gavel came down and it was, law, boom. I'm sure just as soon as the gavel hit, the lawyer would be on the phone. There's probably some crony on there, and they would call whoever, and I'm sure Monsanto by the end of the day would be suing, or appealing the decision or whatever the frig they would do to get it overturned.
Oh, absolutely. And it's up to us. We cannot rely on our government to protect us from companies like Monsanto. We have to pick up our big boy pants and put our belt on, and we have to go to work and do it ourselves, because it's the only way. The UK has done it. They've done it themselves. The people stood up and said, no, we don't want your garbage in our country. Get it out. And they successfully have done that. Monsanto is running for the hills from the UK. You've got all these other countries over in Europe that are doing the exact same thing. Russia is blocking the seed. It just goes on and on. Monsanto's not having a very good week, a very good month. So you ever notice these foreign countries, Johnny, like Poland blocked the H1N1 vaccine, and now you have Russia and these other countries kicking Monsanto out. And yet in the United States, the propaganda line is, you must take it. It's good for you. Who cares? Blah blah blah. Whatever, they get people to accept it. And yet, if people paid attention for 5 seconds outside of their comfort box, that they're in, they looked over the lid, realized there was no lid, and they just kind of looked over the edge and realized that the rest of the world is going, wow, that crap is horrible. It kills people. Look at these tests. People would see. But they don't. They go, oh, well, Fox News or CNN told me that GMOs are okay and that people are crazy if they don't want them, Or they hear some politician say something about how GMOs are acceptable. Let me ask you this.
if GMOs are so awesome, how come Monsanto doesn't serve them in their own cafeteria and it's banned? Banned. B-A-N, was it? Yeah, B-A-N-N-E-D. Sorry about that. That's my local school education right there. My brain shut off for a minute.
I have that effect on people, so don't feel bad.
No, that's my, I like to say that's my public high school education. And then my brain just shut off for a second while I was trying to spell it. That's funny. Yes, banned. Monsanto bans that crap from their own cafeteria. But hey, Johnny, you can eat it. It's okay for you. It's okay.
Yeah, it's the classic do as I say, not as I do.
And people buy into that. Well, I don't see any reason why GMO corn should be labeled. I mean, does it really matter? Yeah. If that stuff was conceived in a lab, starting off in a petri dish, making all sorts of changes genetically at the genetic level, and they know it's unstable, which means when you eat it, it's doing the same thing to you. But hey, don't worry about that. I mean, kids have allergies out of nowhere. You notice how many kids have food allergies, dude?
Oh.
It's out of control.
It's crazy.
Peanut butter, whatever. It's out of control. All right, ladies and gentlemen, break sneaking up on us. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. 3 minutes. Check out Johnny's network, KOAlive.com. We'll be right back. We are back. GMO food, GMOs in general, and Monsanto is the topic right now. And I cannot stress how evil this place is enough, right?
It is I can't even put a finger on how evil this thing is. Of all the things that you've seen and heard people that have done countless awful things, whether it's murder, whether it's bombings or anything else, you have no idea. People have no idea how sick and how many people have already died from the stuff that Monsanto is out there promoting. I mean, they truly are the evil. The evil. That's what I like to call them. The evil.
Dude, super evil is what I would call them. Super evil. I mean, they own Blackwater. Again, why do they need to buy their own private mercenary army? Because the entire world is pissed at them for the evil things they've done?
And they keep trading, people that work for them or on their board and things like that, suddenly end up on the boards of USDA, the FDA, right about the time that all this stuff gets passed with no problems. I believe the FDA or the USDA, one of the two, said, Monsanto, the genetically modified crops are almost like the original. And I just laughed. I'm like, are you serious? You mean they're almost? They're almost the same, Popeye.
What's the old saying? Almost is only good in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Right. Absolutely. It's ridiculous that they're getting away with this. And they're so... people don't know how powerful this corporation is and how huge it is. I mean, you go as far back as my home state, Alabama. I grew up in Alabama. And what they did to the city of Anniston, Alabama is just, it's horrible. It's horrible. That chemical plant they had down there, it actually closed in 1971. The citizens finally found guys like Johnny Cochran before he died and a few others to actually represent them in court. And they actually sued Monsanto and the new corporation that bought the chemical plant from Monsanto and actually sued them and won. I forgot how much it was. It was a lot of money, but it's still not enough to replace all the people they lost. They were getting cancer, diabetes. I mean, we're talking within, less than a generation, these people were developing all this stuff because these chemicals, were soaked into the soil and was in the water. And they didn't care. They could care less. And it's the same thing with their seed. They sold off the chemical part. See, that's one thing you got to understand. People don't realize Monsanto started as a chemical company. They've had their hands in a lot of different things. And
they
now
made Agent Orange.
Agent Orange, very good example.
And by the way, there's more than just Agent Orange. the reason why it was called Agent Orange was because it was stored in orange barrels. There was stuff like blue, and I think it was blue, red, purple, orange, and even green. So, and there was a bunch of them, and they were all different defoliants. Agent Orange just happened to be one of the more efficient ones that they used, but it also affects the human nervous system and everything else. And who made that? Again, Monsanto. So somebody that has a history of making chemical weapons, Johnny, should we be letting them F with the food supply? Really?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I don't understand how people can't see the connection that's bad there. You know what I mean?
I'm embarrassed to live in Iowa because Iowa has the most offices of Monsanto. They have 25 offices in the state. Matter of fact, about 35 miles away from my house, there is a gigantic Monsanto plant. And because it's on the river, and I'm not a huge Greenpeace fan, but Greenpeace has attacked this plant. They actually came in and plugged up their drains and did all kinds of, sort of things. And I'm in the process of hooking up with some local people that have actually been put in jail for, going out there and holding up little signs and protesting and things like that. So I'm gonna try to get something going here locally. And each one of you, everybody out there listening, should do the same thing. Our friend Info Assassin down there in Florida has started a petition to do the exact same thing they're doing in California. To have these things labeled so that at least we have a choice. At the very least, we have a choice. So I urge everyone out there to try to get active and try to find out locally who's carrying this GMO stuff and say something. Stop just going to the store and buying stuff. Stand up for yourselves and say something.
Dude, these people are responsible for so much, like, not only just genetic engineering and food and stuff. And even that's the kind of stuff they do out in the open. But you have to think, what kind of stuff do they research? Do they fund, perhaps? Do they maybe spirit along? Did you ever hear of spider goats?
You said that in the break. I have no idea what a spider goat is.
Check this out. Just listen. This will blow your mind.
This farm is located outside Montreal, Canada. These are very special goats. Within their genetic makeup is one spider silk gene.
In a spider, the gene is responsible for the making of so-called dragline silk, the strongest natural fiber known to science. Dragline is the silk favored for the radii of the web and to suspend from. It's a spider's lifeline. How do you get the gene into the goat? You start with the embryo, or fertilized egg.
What we do is we take a very fine glass pipette and we add just a few copies of the gene into this fertilized goat egg. What happens then, when the goat egg is a single cell, is that the spider silk gene becomes part of one of the chromosomes.
The goats are now part spider. To be precise, they're 1/70,000th spider. It's not like they have 8 legs or anything. But they do produce highly prized dragline silk protein. How do you get the protein out of the goat? You milk it.
The goats produce silk within their mammary gland. Inside their mammary gland is a single spider silk gene, and the goat's genetic information, having this added gene, allows them to produce silk protein in their milk.
Refined out of the milk, the protein yields a syrupy material called spin dope.
This golden solution is very much like you would see inside a spider if you could look inside her silk glands.
Then comes the real challenge, making a super strong fiber out of spin dope. As we've seen, a spider does it by spurting a protein solution through her spinnerets.
And as they line up, then the individual crystalline segments in each of the proteins actually snaps into a lock, just like Legos would. And that actually then binds all the proteins together and occurs very, very rapidly.
Tiny holes in a stainless steel plate become man-made spinnerets.
This mimics or biomimics what is happening in the spider. And as the silk proteins move through the tiny hole, they touch each other, they nucleate, and they form continuous filaments, several miles long, in fact, as long as we'd like to have them.
So far, this is the weakest link in the technology. Artificial spinnerets have only been able to replicate a strand 1/10 the strength of a spider's dragline. The 8-legged web slingers have the advantage, for now.
And what they're using it for is, you can look it up, they're using it to make body armor. They pull it out, and then they have little spinners and stuff that they put it through, and once it's all, I guess, cured or whatever the hell the term would be for it, and it's got its tensile strength, they weave it into body armor, because spider silk is like one of the strongest things on the planet. The whatever the hell you want to call it, the drag line. That stuff is like the strongest, one of the strongest things on the planet. Especially given the size of the spider and everything else. I mean, to humans, we could just bust through it. But if the spider was in proper proportion to us, you wouldn't be able to cut through that stuff. It's super strong. So they're making body armor out of it. And now you can look up, they're even taking it one step further. They just want to splice the spider gene with human genes and make bulletproof skin. Go look it up. I'm not kidding. Island of Dr. Moreau type crap. All right, we're going to break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Silk is one of the strongest substances known to man.
Oh, you can see a bit of silk hanging out behind.
Dragline silk, which a spider uses to make the spokes of its web, is tougher than Kevlar, stretches better than nylon, and weight for weight is 5 times stronger than steel.
She's got such lovely hairy legs.
It's believed a cord of silk just a few centimeters across could lift a jumbo jet off the ground. But despite these remarkable properties, it's always been impossible to produce spider silk on a commercial scale. Unlike silkworms, spiders are too antisocial to farm successfully.
People have actually tried in both Britain and France in the 1800s to grow spiders in barns. And they're very territorial and actually will kill each other to get enough territory.
But now Professor Randy Lewis thinks he's come up with a way to change all that.
What we've done is taken the gene for spider silk from a spider, and we've incorporated that into the genes of a goat. And the goat produces that silk protein in its milk.
Yes, you did hear that correctly. He has put a spider gene into a goat.
So how do you take a gene from this creature and put it into a goat?
Well, in this case, because we want to make sure that we have the right gene, since they make different kinds of silk, we actually went to the gland that produces the dragline silk, and we extracted the gene from there that was actually being made, so we knew it was the right one.
To create a spider goat, Professor Lewis took the gene that allows the spider to make silk and put it into bacteria. As the bacteria multiply, so does the gene. The bacteria are then injected into the egg of a goat. When the egg develops, the gene allows the new goat to produce the proteins that make silk.
You don't notice that there's anything peculiar about the goats in any other respect?
We don't see any differences in the goat, and the goats behave absolutely normally.
Extracting the silk from goats is a tricky process. The spider gene allows the goats to produce the proteins that are the building blocks of silk in their milk. There are many other proteins in milk, and this new gene adds just one more. Scientists filter the goat's milk to isolate the silk proteins, and then comes the delicate part.
How do you actually make it into fiber?
So what we've done is loaded the syringe with the spider silk protein in solution into this particular syringe. What will happen is that the instrument then very slowly pushes down on the syringe, which forces the silk solution into an alcohol. What happens is as the fiber starts to form, then we can actually pull it. From here and take it up out of the solution and then start winding it on these winders so that we have a silk fiber that we actually can begin to test.
It looks like a sort of a giant version of the spooling part of my mother's old sewing machine.
Very similar. We spool it on to collect enough silk that we can actually do testing.
For the first time ever, it might be possible to make spider silk in bulk.
From a liter of milk, we can actually get about 7 grams of silk, and at about 100 meters per milligram, we're talking about in excess of 70,000 meters of silk.
So I seem to She'd be holding a piece of spider silk that has come out of goat's milk. It's extraordinary. It is actually quite stretchy. But it's fine, like the very finest hair on a baby's head.
The technology is pretty nifty. But why would we want to produce spider silk on an industrial scale?
I think things divide into a couple categories. In the medical field, people are particularly interested in artificial ligaments and artificial tendons. And people are interested in it for body armor. Particularly the military is very interested because we estimate that we could make bulletproof vests that would be about 1/3 of the current weight. So somewhere around 5 pounds versus 16 pounds of the current ones.
So that's what they want to produce it for. All of this research, and what's the one answer this guy comes up with? Bulletproof vests. So who's funding this? Who's funding all of this genetic research, dude, to make spider goat silk?
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the vests are stronger. Our troops aren't going to get them. You know what I mean? I mean, they're probably not going to get them for several years. I mean, either way it goes, I mean, who are they really making them for? I mean, that's the question you should really ask: is who are they really making them for? Because it took forever for our very own troops that have been in Afghanistan and Iraq and wherever else in the world, fighting these wars. They're not getting the equipment they need now. What makes you think they're going to get the ones that are produced by this stuff? But this whole thing, man, you're tinkering with nature. It's not a good thing. Right now, nature's fighting back against Monsanto. And what's going to happen, that's something to think about too, Popeye, is let's say we drive Monsanto over the cliff and they're gone. Let's say they're gone. The soil's still contaminated with their junk. What's going to happen, all of these bugs and weeds that have learned to fight these Roundup-ready crops, how are they going to treat regular crops? Because they're now turned into super bugs and super weeds. People aren't thinking about this. When you tinker with nature, you tend to make things a lot worse in the long run.
They're playing God, dude. Literally. They're playing God. Which is kind of freaky, dude, because again, this is what bothers me about this. I read Seeds of Destruction. Seeds of Destruction. My lips aren't working today. By William Engdahl. If you ever get a chance to get that book, I'm sure you could find a used copy. If you couldn't afford the regular one, anybody listening, but get the book, and it'll start you on your journey of paying attention to what Monsanto is doing. I had no idea how evil these people were until I read that book years ago, and then it started me researching on hardcore who Monsanto was, what their goals were, the things they do, and you'll see Terminator seeds. Yep. Terminator seeds. They only grow once, and then you're gonna go back. Whatever it is, fruit, vegetable, whatever that they're yielding, it won't regenerate with any seeds for you to. Because normally farmers would just take the seeds from whatever that they grew, and they would keep some of it just to harvest the seeds from and plant for next year. Well, Terminator seeds end all that. Hence the term Terminator seeds. I mean, when something is named Terminator in regards to your food, warning, danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Yeah, there should be a giant red flag flying.
I don't understand how people don't see that. Well, it's okay. It's, they take care of it for me. Dude, why would you need someone to F with nature? Red flag.
We don't. We can do this on our own. And that's one of the things, as we get close to the end of the Monsanto discussion is people say, well, okay, you're bitching about this. You're showing us that. Okay, Monsanto's bad. GMO's bad. What can we do to fix this situation? Because as it stands right now, if we drive all this stuff out, we're going to have a sudden food shortage. I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, unfortunately, we've let these companies run rampant, and now they've got us by the cojones, and there's nothing we can do right this second. However, once we start forcing these people out, it's going to take people to go back on the farm. It's going to take people to take over farming again, and each community is going to have to support itself. We're going to have to be self-sufficient for a while. So you better be prepared because it's coming. The evolution, as Popeye calls it, it's coming. And if you're not prepared, you're going to be starving in the streets. You're going to be killing each other for food. So
that's what they want. That's what FEMA camps and all that stuff is for, man. Because that way, then when you're in a situation like that, and that's why they're trying to push it like that. So that way, if that situation becomes reality, right, then they're not going to have to round you up in the middle of the night. You're going to look at the FEMA camp like it's a mall, because they're going to have a Starbucks and they're going to have whatever restaurant happens to partner up with the federal government, or they have a contract with, or whatever will be in there. And that they'll sell it as, hey, things are rough on the outside of the fence, but if you come in, we'll give you food, we'll give you shelter. And it's like the Roach Motel. Once you check in, you don't check out. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. Final segment coming up. Check out Johnny's network, KOALive.com. I go on there frequently. The shows are awesome. He's awesome. Go check it out. We'll be right back. I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, having Johnny on, you need an extra hour. Not 2 hours. I need like 3 hours to have him on, because we could just go off on anything. As I've said before, he is a very smart cookie. Go pay attention to him. He's got a bunch of different shows on his network, and he's taking he's recently taken hiatus, but I'm sure he'll be coming back to the airwaves soon. Go check his website out. It's his network, KOALive.com. Johnny, before we get into it, I want to thank you for hanging out with me for 2 hours today, man.
No need to thank me, man. I enjoyed every second of it, and anytime I could do radio with you, man, I'm there.
Yeah, well, I've told you before, you have a natural inclination for this. You're very good. You have good radio voice. You have a good radio presence, and you're smart. You're willing to think and look outside the box. That's what's most important. All right, I want to get your thoughts on something else other than GMO. I want to shift gears here a little bit in the final segment. I want to play a clip that O'Reilly aired around the 9/11 anniversary this year, and I want to see if you can hear the propaganda that he just spits out. It's only like 2 minutes. I'm not even going to be able to get through the whole thing without interrupting it, just so everybody knows.
Tonight, on this 11th anniversary of the 9/11 attack, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. According to the Congressional Research Service, the war on terror has cost America $1.4 trillion. That includes the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and money for veterans, also a bunch of other military expenditures. It does not include security within the USA. Under President Obama, the war on terror has cost about $569 billion, approximately 10% of the debt the president has run up in his 3.5 years on the job. So when people like Alan Colmes, who will join us in a moment, say that America's debt is largely war-driven, the stats do not back that up. Mr. Obama has added about
lie number one.
$5.4 trillion to the debt during his time in office. And again, the war on terror expenditures comprise about 10% of that. But the important question is, has the war on terror been worth the price in blood and treasure? So let's run it down. In the combined wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, nearly 6,600 Americans have been killed, almost 50,000 wounded. While all life is sacred, those casualty figures are nothing like the Vietnam War. However,
Okay, so there's fallacy number two. Well, it's a straw man argument. Well, I know there's been a lot of Americans killed, and those numbers are high, but hey, in Vietnam, more people died. So he's trying to justify it. You see what I mean?
This network douche it's mind-blowing. It really is. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're right. He is the epitome of network douchebaggery. Well said.
I believe most historians will look back on the Iraq War as being a mistake. We could have brought Saddam to his knees by blockading his country. We didn't have to invade it. One caveat, the weapons of mass destruction deal threw all calibrations out. But in hindsight...
Lie. Where are the WMDs, Bill? But just moving on, let's not actually discuss that.
We did not need Iraq in order to win the war on terror. Afghanistan's another matter. We had to remove the Taliban, and we did.
Hey, by the way, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you one of the douchebags that said it doesn't matter what you think, whether you think it's right or wrong, once we're at war, you must support the president? But then you just said that we didn't need to invade? Bullshit. Liar. Epic liar. I'm sorry. This is what happens when I play things from, like, I can't stand this man.
I can't either.
He's talking out of both sides of his mouth. He's a liar.
I just stare at the screen when I see him on, and I try not to listen, but if I have to, I just stare at the screen blankly because I can't believe the words coming out of his mouth.
It's just, oh, dude, he's such a puppet. We'll do it live. See if we can get through. I'm not probably going to be, we might get through the rest of it.
The problem is that Afghan society is largely corrupt, and the USA has not been able to effectively neutralize.
Oh, Afghan society is largely corrupt. The whole society in Afghanistan, most of them can't even spell or don't even know what 9/11 is, but they're all corrupt. Our government, however, are saints, right, Bill? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Lying sack of monkey crap. I can't stand this guy.
That corruption. So we're caught in a country that simply will not cooperate in helping itself become a free state. Money.
It won't help itself become a free. Oh, God. O'Reilly, you're such a liar. He's pandering to the conservatives to go, we lost a lot of people over there. Them damn Middle Eastern people, they don't even care. Ragheads, ungrateful bastards. That's what he's pandering to.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't stand him, dude. Can you tell?
No, I can't tell at all.
In tribal conflicts rule in Afghanistan, and that has hurt America badly. But again, we had to fight the war.
But again, we had to do it. We had to. Got to throw that in there. You see how he's putting it in there? So subconsciously, people are half-assed listening to this, and in the back of their head, they're getting programmed. Doesn't matter. How about they never mention all the civilians we killed, the innocent people in Afghanistan? You notice he mentioned the military deaths, but he didn't mention any of the people we've killed. Any of the civilians in Pakistan or Afghanistan or Iraq.
He never mentioned the drone strikes on innocent civilians. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, why pay attention to that? It was justified. Remember, Johnny, we had to invade.
He lost that page. It fell out.
Yeah, exactly. That page of history went into the memory hole. Bill forgot that he said that we were supposed to, but see, again, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth because he says we shouldn't have invaded, then we should have invaded, then we shouldn't have invaded, then we should have invaded. Hey, Bill, make up your mind. War or not for war? Which one would you prefer? But I guess it's justified. Even though we lost a lot of souls, it's justified. Ugh.
President Obama has done a good job in neutralizing al-Qaeda. His killer drone strategy has decimated that homicidal group. President Bush did a good job in hammering al-Qaeda right after the 9/11 attack. His strong policy of isolating and interrogating captured terrorists gave the USA vital information the country needed in order to protect itself. Ironically, the Obama administration recently dropped all abuse cases against the CIA and its interrogation program. Believe me when I tell you, Attorney General Eric Holder did not want to do that. But the evidence shows that while America did use harsh interrogation, it did not abuse prisoners on the scale.
Bullshit.
The far left alleges. So summing up
the far left? Well, Bill, I'm not far left, and I'm not alleging anything. I'm telling you there's factual evidence out there that backs up the fact that we tortured people. We tortured people's children. Yes, we abused people's children in front of them to get them to give evidence and information and stuff in Iraq.
I have a question. Did we do the drone strikes on that decimated al-Qaeda before or after? Now, did we decimate them as our enemy in Iraq, or did we decimate them as our friends in Syria? I'm confused.
Oh, good question. Very good question.
I'm lost in that somewhere.
Because we do drone strikes for them in Libya, but we do them against them in Afghanistan. I am kind of confused now.
It's odd. I'm trying
to... enemy? Is there a line there? I mean,
no.
Could it be that maybe Al-Qaeda, maybe this myth about them is complete and utter horseshit? Maybe that's it. Oops. Did I just blow someone's mind? Did I just shatter their paradigm? What? You know what? I found this today accidentally, completely by accident. I was looking for something else, and I found this BBC clip from 9/11 itself, where even the BBC was like, yeah, well, the United States created Al-Qaeda through the CIA. What? 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 Because even though that's common knowledge out there, there are people that'll be like, you're just making that up. You're a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, you're a You're a terrorist. You're
a homeland terrorist. Here in America.
We created them to fight in the Iraq-Iran war. We created them. We did. Our government created them. Do you not understand that?
First they were our friends, then they were our enemies when it was convenient, and now they're our friends again. I mean, it's very confusing. We're fighting them in Iraq, yet we're helping them in Syria. And then people go, no, we're fighting the Taliban. The Taliban attacked us. No. The Taliban, see, what the Taliban did wrong was the United States had issues with them on the back end, especially people in the Bush administration, because they went in, and as soon as they took power, they cut down all the poppies and everything else. They had their own, what do you call it, like supply stashed enough to make money off of, and they burned the rest. They, first of all, drove the price up for what they had. That's smart business. And two, it gave them complete and utter control of the business. Now, why do you think we went in there? Because it's about lithium and stuff too, but the drug trade, that illicit drug trade, does a multitude of things. One, it funds these black ops that they do, but it also helps them attack Russia, because a lot of that heroin coming out of Afghanistan is going into Russia.
What?
Oh yeah, dude. And I mean, it makes them billions of dollars, and it helps back up. By the way, drug money, illicit drug money, is what backs up the whole banking industry. So there's a ton of aspects to it. Plus all the lithium in the ground that's there. People go, well, what the hell? Rachel Maddow, when it first came out, I remember her going, God, what would anybody want lithium for? Gee, Rachel, I don't know. How about everything in your studio, your cell phone, your laptop, your TV? All uses lithium. Yep. And there's at least like $1 trillion worth of it in the Afghan mountains. Yep. Ooh, I wonder why we're really there. Are we spreading democracy? No. I have to hoist the bullshit flag. Johnny, we are out of time, brother. Thank you for coming on, man. It is an awesome broadcast whenever I hang out with you. Plug your website and stuff really quick. Go.
It was a pleasure. KOAlive.com. Go there and check out everything we have to offer. There's several pages there, videos, everything, and just spend some time perusing that and check out the shows.
Thanks, brother. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you all. We are out of here.